if you're somebody who's been building a business for a long time, or if you're somebody, who's in business in general, and has been at it for a few years, I think you will relate a lot to the things that I talk about in this video. And to those who are interested in exploring businesses and potentially making one, I think this is a very useful video for you to be aware of the struggles that are, that come as a part of it. The hardest thing, and I say this because I just had a day where things just got heavy. Everything, my brain was spinning out of control. My mind was going at 500 miles an hour all day. And the worst thing is, the hardest struggle, it is not the work in and of itself. The work is the easy part. The hard part is the uncertainty. It's the crippling uncertainty that you have no idea if you're taking the right action. And you are almost always, I think, 6 to 12 months away from something great, right? But the problem is, you never know when those 6 to 12 months start. What I mean by that is, if you don't take the right actions, that's not going to happen. When you start taking the right actions, things are going to happen. And it was foolish of me, but I thought, I just get the right actions from the very start. And that is, the reality is that's not true. The biggest issue is the crippling uncertainty that things will not work. And, I would say, the beginner struggle is the impatience. It's like, oh, things aren't working. It's because I got to choose a new business model or whatever. And the reality is that's not it. And then you kind of lock in and you figure out that actually you got to stick to one business. And then you start sticking to one business, and man, it still hurts. But you know that switching is not going to fix it. And it's uncertain, and it's brutal. It is brutal not just because it's uncertain, but it's because there is a high likelihood of failure when you actually look at the numbers, and you can't really do that all the time, right? You can't just think in terms of numbers, otherwise rationally it doesn't make sense to start a business. But also, I think you have to become deeply acquainted with incompetence, with your own incompetencies, and you have to face these inadequacies all the time. Because in order to get better, you must identify the areas that need the improvement. And so you identify that area for improvement, and you identify loads of them, and you get good at that. But the problem is, if you get too good at it, you can't let it get to your head. But the flip side of that is you can't get too arrogant as well, right? If you misattribute success to something in yourself and you think you're so amazing, man, you're gonna go down as well. And things may go well for a while. Some people are arrogant and successful, but the reality is, if you do this for a long time, I think it doesn't leave you much possibility to be hugely arrogant, because you constantly have to come face to face with your own failure in order to move to the next level. You constantly have to look at how inadequate you are in order to push that. But sometimes, at least for me, man, things have been going well, objectively. If you look at my numbers, I'm doing better than I ever have. But I still, I have so much, it's I still have a lot of anxiety about things not, me just not being good enough, just not be, why did I take so long to get where I am? And there are people who did it faster. And the reality is there's always somebody who's done it, faster, better, whatever. There's no point looking to the left, to the right. It's just stick to your own lane. They can be hard, because when you're uncertain, you look to other people for reference. And the problem is, those references are actually useless to you. They're useless. You shouldn't look to the side, but you do, because you're uncertain. And it just, it can be crippling sometimes when you come face to face with everything that you're so incompetent at, and then you pair that with that uncertainty of is this going to work out? And then you add this third element of comparing and looking to the left, to the right, and man, that can be terribly hard. And I think you get desensitized to it. At least I have. I'm quite desensitized to things, especially I can face my own incompetencies, I think, very, very well, for the most part. And I'm okay with it. I have no pity. I have no qualms about it. It is, I fail all the time, and that's all right. That's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But man, sometimes there are days where it just weighs a little heavier on you. That's the reality of it, right? The reality is it's eating shit for a lot of years, basically, which you have to get through. And if you're not eating shit for a lot of years, you have to be aware of what I call altitude sickness, which is the same as altitude sickness in real life, which is if you go up too fast, you get dizzy. And when you get dizzy, you can make bad decisions. And the same thing happens, I think, in business and in life. Like, there's some people who they just get it too fast, and like, you know, for some make poor decisions and lose it, and some don't. You know, some might keep it, whatever. But like, I think their character is very underdeveloped, and you can tell that in a person sometimes, where you speak to them and it's just there's no depth to it. At least I don't know. That might just be my 2 cents that I'm throwing in there. But if you are one who wants to build a business, you know, just like, you gotta be in it for the long run. You gotta be willing to stick around in it. Stick around, like, for a while. Even when things suck, you gotta still do it. Still show up. Man, like, if there's one lesson that I could hammer into my stupid fucking thick skull 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it would just be, man, like, do what works, more of it, and be more patient. Just stick to what works, keep doing what works, be more patient. Those 2 things, you would have gotten a fucking long way. And I say those things and I look at myself now and I'm trying to hammer those into me now. But it's like, man, it's so easy in retrospect to say that. It's, you know, I don't know, I think it's harder in the moment. And I find myself like, okay, this guy did this on LinkedIn. It worked super well, so I think I should try and do the same, whatever. And then I'm like, and recently I found myself making these reflections. Then I sit myself down and I'm like, okay, let's go through this. Okay, so you're gonna do this on LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. Right. Have you tried this before? No. Do you have something that is working? Yes. So what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you changing it? Do what works and be patient. And man, the patience is hard. And I think that is, at least for me, it's really hard. Some people don't struggle with it as much. I do. Maybe that comes with being a young person. Maybe it just comes with me, like, fuck knows. But man, being patient can be really, really hard, with that uncertainty as well. So that's the hard part of building a business. It's not in the work. The work is fine. The work is work. Work is whatever. You show up to a bar, you serve for 8 hours, that's work too. Man, I can code for 8 hours, that's work too. Work is fine. Work is not the issue. Work is not the issue. It's everything else around it. You have to be able to work. You have to be incredibly effective as an individual. You have to work on the right things, not the wrong things. That is a harder problem than just the work itself. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, that was a little bit of a rant. If you did enjoy, do subscribe. Most people are not, who watch my videos. And comment if you have any other questions that you'd like me to answer.